Welcome to Rewired Reader, where information becomes transformation. A NASA janitor was once asked what he does. He said, "I'm helping send people to the moon. Not I clean floors, not I mop, not I empty trash cans." That's what purpose does. It lifts ordinary work into extraordinary meaning. It makes small tasks feel like part of a bigger mission. If you run a small business, lead a team, teach a class, guide a family, or manage even one person, ask yourself this plainly: can the people who work with you connect to your purpose, or can't they? Because here is a truth most leaders ignore. People do not give their best to a job. They give their best to a leader who understands their life. Stephen M.R. Covey said it simply: people are whole people. They do not arrive at your door as containers of skills only. They bring their stress, their fears, their dreams, the fights they had last night, the debt they hide, the child they worry about, and the hope that one day someone will see them. And leaders who forget that lose everything that actually matters. So hear this now. If you want your team to carry your purpose, you must carry them first. That doesn't mean speeches or slogans. It means small human acts. Ask how they're doing. Notice their birthdays. Praise effort, not just outcome. Listen when they speak and remember what they say. Give space when life gets hard. Let them own a decision and stand behind them when it goes wrong. Do that, and you'll watch your people and your vision travel farther than any plan on paper. But why do so many leaders still lead by fear? Why do managers still micromanage? Why do parents still rule with rules? Why do teachers still teach by control? Why do CEOs still believe authority alone wins? Because leadership stayed stuck while the world moved on. A publisher once asked Covey a question that changed everything. Everything in the world is changing. Technology, workplaces, expectations, cultures. Why is leadership not changing? Or did it change and we simply didn't notice? That question landed like a bell. It revealed a painful fact. While our tools and routines evolved, our approach to leading people didn't keep pace. Old habits remained. Old models persisted. That old model has a name: command and control. Command and control is simple to spot. It's the boss who expects blind obedience. It's the manager who monitors every move. It's the culture that values rules over people. It's the assumption that people are resources to be directed rather than human beings to be developed. And it fails spectacularly in today's world. Why? Because the workplace now requires creativity, initiative, and emotional energy. People work from home, they juggle schedules, they crave meaning, they refuse meaningless grind, and they will quietly quit rather than stay where their voice is ignored. The old approach gets compliance, but the modern world requires commitment. Covey dug into this. He looked at stories, data, and real lives. He found the same thing again and again. Leaders who rely on fear and control get short-term compliance and long-term decay. Leaders who choose trust and inspiration get sustained performance and fierce loyalty. Here's the core idea. Trust is not soft. Trust is leverage. It is the multiplier that turns ordinary teams into extraordinary engines of results. When people feel trusted, they take risks, learn faster, fix problems, and protect the mission because it becomes personal. Think of it like this. Fear compresses energy. Trust frees it. If you want measurable shifts in performance, focus less on watching and more on believing. Let's be concrete. If you run a barbershop with one assistant, you don't need a 5-step corporate plan. You need to show your assistant that you believe in them. Allow them to handle a client call, let them run inventory decisions, tell them you trust their judgment. That trust changes behavior. They start showing up early. They start caring about the shop's reputation. They become protective of the standards because they feel ownership. If you own a small restaurant with 4 staff, you don't need complicated HR manuals to build loyalty. The method. You'll find your team solving problems you didn't even know existed. Trust must be extended wisely. Covey isn't naive about risk. He shows how trust and accountability go hand in hand. Clarify expectations, provide the resources, define what success looks like, agree on check-ins. When something goes wrong, coach. Don't punish. That's how trust deepens. There's another piece that most leaders miss. Inspiration is not the same as motivation. Motivation is external. Deadlines, money, fear. It pushes. Inspiration pulls from inside. When people find meaning, they stay because the work becomes part of their identity. You've seen it. People who join a mission and work late because it matters, not because they're threatened. The janitor who said he's helping send people to the moon did not say it for a raise. He said it because his work connects to a purpose bigger than his mop. So how do you create that pull? Start by connecting the daily work to a larger frame. Tell the story of why the work matters. Show examples. Celebrate small wins publicly and privately. Make sure people see the impact of what they do. Help them find the personal meaning, not by forcing it, but by enabling them to discover it. Covey maps leadership into 3 primary stewardships: modeling, trusting, and inspiring. Modeling is the practice of showing the behavior you want to see. You can command someone to be punctual, but if you are late, your demand is cheap. Modeling is moral authority. It's the credibility earned by aligning words with actions. A leader who models humility and courage can ask the same from others and be believed. Trusting is extending confidence to people before they deserve it fully, not recklessly, but based on character and competence. Trust early but intelligently. Clarify expectations, give space to act, and hold people accountable with dignity. Trust creates ownership. Inspiring is about lighting the internal fire. It's not about speeches, it's about connection. Helping people see how their work matters to others and how it fits into a bigger story. It's about belonging, the sense that your presence matters and your voice counts. These things are practical, daily behaviors. They're not lofty theory. They are small acts repeated, a conversation, a named praise, a delegated decision, a learned apology. Over time, they build a culture that can withstand complexity and change. These are real, but each one can be addressed. If you think this won't work here, start with modeling. Show how one small change improves outcomes. When others see the result, they follow. If you fear loss of control, balance trust with clear expectations and accountability. Trust doesn't mean no structure. It means a different structure. One that supports initiative rather than stifling it. If you've been burned, you can use filters. Trust based on observed character and competence. Set low-risk pilot projects and scale trust as people prove themselves. That's how you repair the instinct to avoid risk. If you're worried about credit, flip the lens. Leaders who lift others gain influence, praise others publicly. Share credit. The result? People rally and your leadership becomes more respected, not less. If you believe this is who I am, remember that people grow. Leadership is a skill, not a fixed trait. You can practice humility, accountability, and empathy. Small, consistent changes in behavior produce credibility and influence. There is no magic trick. The work is daily and often uncomfortable. You must admit mistakes. You must apologize. You must hold people to standards without shrinking them. You must ask for input and actually use it. You must create stewardship agreements, shared understandings of expectations, outcomes, and autonomy. Those agreements make accountability fair and ownership real. When leaders shift like this, performance follows. Companies that choose trust and inspiration don't just feel better, they perform better. People stay longer. Innovation grows, engagement rises. The organization becomes agile because people take responsibility and look for the next problem to solve before the leader tells them. This is not sentimental, it is practical, it is urgent. Leadership now is human first. It is relationship-based. It asks one question above all. How do people feel when they leave a meeting with you? Smaller or bigger? If people feel smaller, you are managing. If people feel bigger, you are leading. Finally, here is one immediate action to take today. Ask someone a simple question and listen without interruption. What would help you do your best work this month? Don't answer. Don't defend. Just listen, note, and act on at least one of the things they ask. That one act creates trust. Trust creates momentum. Momentum changes everything. So start there. Carry your people first. Connect them to your purpose. Clear expectations, give ownership, and honor their humanity. When you do that, you will see what leaders who learn this already see. People rise when you trust them. They stretch when you believe in them, and your purpose, the thing you want to build, will not only survive, it will thrive. When leaders hear the words trust or inspire, many imagine something soft, emotional, or unrealistic. They think it means lowering standards or letting people do whatever they want. But in reality, this approach demands more strength, more clarity, and more personal responsibility from the leader. And it begins with a powerful truth. People do not rise because they are pressured. They rise because they are trusted. Yet most workplaces, homes, and teams unknowingly operate in a way that suffocates potential before it ever appears. To understand why, we need to look at the first responsibility of a leader, something Covey calls modeling, not teaching, not commanding, not lecturing, not warning. Modeling, because people watch who you are before they listen to what you say. And trust creates safety, and safety creates honesty, and honesty creates growth, and growth creates performance. The chain always starts with modeling, but modeling alone is not enough. Once people see who you are, the next step is how you treat them. This brings us to one of the most misunderstood ideas in leadership: extending trust. Most leaders wait until people prove themselves before they trust them. But the truth is shocking. If you wait for people to earn trust first, you will wait forever. Because no one grows under suspicion. No one thrives under doubt. No one expands under control. People need to be believed in before they become capable of fulfilling that belief. This doesn't mean blind trust. It means intelligent trust. Trust extended early, clearly, and responsibly. The process has two parts: clarifying expectations and practicing accountability. Clarifying expectations is not micromanagement, it is alignment. It is agreeing together on what outcome we're aiming for, what success looks like, which boundaries matter, what resources are needed, how often we check in, how we'll measure progress, what support the leader will provide. Most conflicts at work, most drama in families, and most breakdowns in partnerships happen because expectations are assumed, not clarified. Leaders think they communicated, teams think they understood, but two people rarely imagine the same outcome unless they talk it through. When expectations are clear, trust becomes safe. Then comes accountability. Accountability is not punishment. Accountability is support plus ownership. It's consistent coaching instead of surprise criticism. It's asking, how can I help you move forward, instead of, why didn't you do this? When someone succeeds, accountability says, let's celebrate and expand your responsibility. When someone struggles, accountability says, let's learn from this and adjust together. Accountability without trust becomes fear. Trust without accountability becomes chaos. Together, they form the structure of growth. Now let's put this into real situations so every type of leader understands how powerful this can be. Imagine you're a barber running a small shop. You trust your assistant with scheduling clients. You clarify how bookings should be spaced, how walk-ins should be handled, and what to do when someone cancels. Then you step back. You don't hover. You don't correct every decision. You follow up weekly. If they slip, you guide. If they excel, you reward. That person will start treating your shop like their own. If you're a restaurant owner, extending trust may look like giving one server the authority to resolve customer issues up to a certain limit without calling you. You teach them how to judge situations, offer solutions, and make customers feel valued. That freedom transforms service quality because now they aren't waiting for your approval. They are acting like leaders. If you lead a team at a big company, trust looks like letting people design their own methods as long as the outcome aligns. Some will be creative. Some will be analytical, some will be fast, some will be thorough. You'll get more energy, more initiative, and more engagement because people feel ownership. If you are a parent, extending trust looks like giving a child responsibility for something real, watering plants, managing their school routine, choosing how to handle their homework time. Yes, they'll make mistakes, but trust teaches them confidence that no rule ever can. If you're a teacher, trust is giving students ownership of small parts of the classroom, leading discussions, handling materials, organizing groups, or setting goals. You create a learning environment where students stop fearing failure and start embracing curiosity. Even between partners, trust strengthens relationships. When one person trusts the other with decisions, finances, errands, planning, the relationship expands from survival to partnership. Trust always multiplies. Control always shrinks. Now let's look at an example that shows how powerful trust can be when extended early. There was a leader who hired someone new, someone with good character but unproven experience. Instead of controlling every step, the leader gave them a project, clarified expectations, and extended full trust. That trust unlocked something inside them. They went above and beyond, not because they were forced, but because they didn't want to let down the person who believed in them. This happens everywhere, in sports, in classrooms, in families, in businesses, in small teams, in massive organizations. People rise for the leader who sees their potential. Another example, a hotel employee found a child's lost stuffed giraffe. Instead of simply returning it, Another example, a hotel employee found a child's lost stuffed giraffe. Instead of simply returning it, the staff took photos of the toy enjoying the resort, at the pool, at the spa, exploring the hotel. They created a magical moment for the child. Why? Because the employees had the freedom to act. They didn't need permission. They didn't fear punishment. They had trust. That's the heart of trust-based leadership. It empowers people to do what rules alone cannot. It fills the gaps where policy never reaches. It makes people serve with heart, not just hands. But trust alone is not enough. There is another force that takes teams, families, and organizations to levels unreachable by pressure or control. And that force is inspiration. Inspiration is not hype. It is not speeches. It is not charisma. You don't need a dramatic voice or a spotlight. You don't need a stage or a title. Inspiration starts with something much simpler: connection. People are inspired when they feel known. People are inspired when they feel valued. People are inspired when they feel they matter. People are inspired when they feel their work has meaning. Think of the janitor who said he helps send people to the moon. He wasn't inspired by cleaning floors. He was inspired by purpose. His leader helped him connect the small act to the larger mission. When people see why their work matters, their energy changes, their effort changes, their identity changes. A school janitor can say, I clean classrooms, or he can say, I create a space where students can dream. A pizza delivery driver can say, I bring food, or I bring comfort to families in their busiest moments. A cashier can say, I scan items, or I make people's day smoother. A customer service rep can say, I answer calls, or I bring calm to stressful situations. When the story changes, the person changes. Connecting people to purpose is one part of inspiration. The other part is connecting to people. You inspire individuals by learning their story, not superficially, but genuinely. You understand their strengths. You recognize their struggles. You honor their uniqueness. You appreciate their effort. You celebrate their wins. You support them through challenges. And something amazing happens. People start showing up not because they're forced, but because they want to. Inspiration also comes from belonging. The feeling that a person's presence matters, that their contribution is valued, that their difference is respected. When people feel they belong, they bring their whole selves to the work. And when that happens, a team stops being a collection of individuals. It becomes a community. Belonging transforms energy. It reduces fear. It encourages honesty. It creates unity. It builds loyalty. It helps people speak up with confidence rather than silence in shame.
When you combine modeling, trusting, and inspiring, you create a culture that performs at the highest level, not because people are controlled, but because they are committed. And that commitment grows stronger when people feel free to express ideas, offer feedback, and admit mistakes without fear. One leader once said something profound. You can motivate people to get results, but you inspire them to grow. Motivation moves the hands. Inspiration moves the heart. And when the heart moves, excellence follows naturally. Now imagine what happens when this becomes normal. People bring solutions instead of problems. They take ownership instead of waiting. They collaborate instead of competing. They think ahead instead of reacting. They innovate instead of imitating. They stay instead of leaving. And the leader becomes someone people choose to follow, not someone they have to follow. This is the leadership shift our generation needs. Not more control, not more pressure, not more rules, but more trust, more connection, more humanity, more purpose, more belief. Because when leaders trust and inspire, people don't just work, they thrive. There is a moment in every leader's life when they finally see the difference between motivation and inspiration. Motivation says, do it because you have to. Inspiration says, do it because it matters. Motivation is external. Inspiration is internal. Motivation pushes. Inspiration pulls. Motivation gets obedience. Inspiration gets ownership. And here is the most important truth of all. You cannot inspire others if you are not inspired yourself. A leader who has lost their spark cannot ignite a flame in others. A leader who has lost sight of purpose cannot help others see theirs. A leader who is emotionally empty cannot fill the people who depend on them. So before a leader tries to elevate anyone else, they must reconnect with their own purpose. Because if a candle is already extinguished, it cannot light another. This is where many leaders stumble. They chase tasks. They chase results. They chase deadlines. They chase KPIs. They chase control. But they forget to chase meaning. Leadership today isn't about strategy first, it's about soul first. If a leader is emotionally disconnected, the entire culture becomes disconnected. If a leader is resentful, the whole team becomes cold. If a leader is burnt out, the environment becomes heavy. If a leader is afraid, the entire group becomes cautious. Who you are inside quietly becomes the energy everyone feels. Leaders assume people listen to their instructions. But people listen to the leader's energy long before they listen to their words. This is why the inner work matters. When a leader reconnects with their purpose, when they remember why they do what they do, something powerful happens. Their tone softens. Their patience grows. Their empathy deepens. Their clarity sharpens. Their resilience increases. Their presence strengthens. People can feel this shift instantly, and they respond to it without being asked. Once the leader's internal spark returns, the next step is connecting with people in a way that awakens theirs. Because people don't follow leaders they fear. They follow leaders who understand them. They follow leaders who see them. Leaders who hear them. Leaders who value them. You cannot inspire someone if you do not first make them feel seen. Connection is the doorway to inspiration. And connection starts with curiosity. What is this person carrying? What is this person afraid of? What gives this person energy? What takes their energy away? What does this person hope for? What keeps them awake at night? What makes them feel confident? What makes them feel invisible? A leader who asks these questions becomes a leader people trust. A leader who ignores these questions becomes a leader people tolerate. And there is nothing more dangerous than a tolerated leader. People will obey a tolerated leader, but they will never give their heart. So how does a modern leader create genuine connection? It's not complicated. It's not expensive. It's not time-consuming. It's intentional. Here are simple, everyday ways great leaders connect. They remember small details. They ask follow-up questions. They celebrate birthdays and milestones. They check in when someone is quiet. They acknowledge effort that usually goes unnoticed. They say, "Thank you," and mean it. They say, "I'm proud of you," when it's earned. They say, "I believe in you," before the person believes it themselves. But there's an even deeper level. If you want to inspire someone, you must care about what they care about. If an employee cares about their sick mother, ask about her. If a student cares about their art, encourage it. If a team member cares about their goals, support them. If a child cares about a school project, show interest. When you care about what someone cares about, you enter their heart. And once you're in their heart, you'll never struggle to influence their behavior. People give their best to leaders who care about their life, not just their output. This brings us to something that changes everything about inspiration. People are inspired when they feel they belong. Belonging is not about being present. It is about being included. Belonging is the feeling that, I matter here. My voice counts here. My presence changes things. I am valued for who I am, not just what I do. When belonging becomes real, people stop pretending. They stop hiding flaws. They stop fearing mistakes. They start taking risks. They start contributing ideas. They start standing up for the mission. They start protecting the team. They start growing. And the leader becomes more than a supervisor. They become a source of confidence. Let's imagine real-life examples across different roles to see how belonging changes behavior. A barbershop assistant feels safe sharing new haircut ideas, improving the shop's style and reputation because the owner encourages creativity. A restaurant server confidently suggests menu tweaks or customer experience improvements because the owner welcomes feedback. A warehouse employee shares a process improvement idea that saves hours of time because the manager listens without judgment. A teacher's student speaks up with a bold answer in class because the teacher creates an atmosphere where mistakes aren't punished. A parent's child opens up about their fears because home feels safe, not judgmental. A partner discusses financial worries honestly because the relationship holds space for uncertainty, not criticism. Belonging transforms people. It makes them braver, more invested, more cooperative, more honest, more resilient. The next level of inspiration is purpose. Not the company's purpose, not the leader's purpose, their own purpose. Because people feel alive when what they do aligns with who they are. Purpose is not something you hand to people. You help them discover it. A great leader doesn't say, "Here's why this work matters." A great leader says, "Here is why you might find your work meaningful." One person finds meaning in serving others. Another finds meaning in learning new skills. Another finds meaning in being recognized. Another finds meaning in stability. Another finds meaning in creativity. Another finds meaning in financial growth. Another finds meaning in being part of something bigger. A leader inspires people by connecting their daily tasks to the meaning that matters to them, not to the leader. For example, a cashier who loves helping others learns that their smile reduces the stress of busy customers. A delivery driver who enjoys efficiency learns that their punctuality makes life easier for families. A software engineer who values problem-solving learns that their code prevents real-world breakdowns. A teacher who loves empowerment learns that their encouragement can change a child's entire future. A parent who values safety learns that emotional safety is as important as physical safety. Purpose transforms identity. And when someone's identity aligns with their daily work, excellence becomes natural. But there's another dimension, something leaders rarely talk about. Inspiration requires vulnerability, not weakness, not oversharing, not emotional dumping. Vulnerability is the willingness to be real. A leader who cannot admit mistakes cannot inspire. A leader who hides all flaws cannot inspire. A leader who pretends to know everything cannot inspire. A leader who avoids difficult conversations cannot inspire. People don't need perfect leaders. They need honest ones. Honesty builds relatability. Relatability builds trust. Trust builds influence. Influence builds inspiration. For example, a CEO who says, "I don't know, but I'll figure it out," inspires more confidence than one who pretends to know everything. A teacher who says, "I used to struggle with this too," inspires students to keep trying. A parent who says, "I'm sorry, I was unfair," teaches humility and strength. A team leader who says, "I'm learning alongside you," encourages collaboration. Emotionally open leadership creates emotionally strong teams. But vulnerability must be balanced with composure. A leader who breaks down every day becomes a burden. A leader who never opens up becomes unreachable. Great leaders walk the line, real but stable, open but grounded, strength with softness, courage with humility, authority with empathy, structure with flexibility. This balance is what makes a leader magnetic. Now let's talk about something Covey emphasizes deeply, something that explains why trust and inspire leadership spread so quickly through a team. Inspiration is contagious. If you deeply inspire one person, they will influence 5. Those 5 will influence 10. And suddenly, the entire culture shifts, not because of a program, but because of a person. Every team has someone who sets the emotional temperature. Every family has someone who sets the tone. Every small business has someone who shapes the culture. Every classroom has someone who decides how safe it feels. Every organization has someone who signals what behavior is acceptable. When the leader becomes a source of inspiration, everyone else lifts. And the ripple effect can be life-changing. Small acts of leadership, consistent, daily, authentic, shape the behaviors of dozens or hundreds. a smile at the right moment, a calm word in a stressful moment, a thank you that acknowledges effort, a trust gesture that unlocks confidence, a shared win that builds unity, a supportive comment that becomes someone's anchor. This is why leadership is not about position. Leadership is about presence. People don't remember your instructions. They remember your energy. They remember how you handled pressure. They remember how you treated them on their worst days. They remember how you responded when they made mistakes. They remember how you made them feel when no one else noticed their effort. This is inspiration at work, quiet, powerful, transformative. And here's the most beautiful part. You don't have to be extraordinary to inspire people. You just have to be human in a world that forgot how. When leaders practice trust and inspiration consistently, they begin to see something miraculous. Teams start solving problems on their own. Conflicts resolve faster. Performance increases without pressure. People come to work for the mission, not the paycheck. Children become more responsible and confident. Relationships deepen. Stress reduces. Innovation grows. Communication becomes open. Accountability becomes natural. And belonging becomes the default. This is what modern leadership looks like. Not intimidating, not controlling, not distant, not mechanical. It is human. It is meaningful. It is growth-driven. It is purpose-centered. It is trust-first. It is heart-led. It is future-ready. And once a leader experiences the power of inspiring others, they never go back. Because they realize something profound. The greatest leaders aren't the ones people fear losing. They are the ones people are grateful to grow under. Leadership is not about building followers. It's about building people. And when you build people, everything else builds itself. Every leadership transformation begins beautifully with trust, inspiration, clarity, purpose, until it crashes into something unavoidable. Barriers. Not barriers outside. Barriers inside the leader. And these barriers are powerful because they sound reasonable. They feel logical. They disguise themselves as caution, experience, or professionalism. But underneath, they come from the same root emotion: fear. Fear of losing control. Fear of being disappointed. Fear of being taken advantage of. Fear of being exposed. Fear of being overshadowed. Fear of the unknown. Fear of repeating past failures. Every leader carries these fears. Even the strongest ones. Even the ones who look confident on the outside. And until a leader confronts these internal barriers, no amount of training or strategy can create lasting change. Let's dive into the most common barriers, the ones that quietly hold even good leaders back. This won't work here. This is the leader who believes their team is too difficult, too inexperienced, too stubborn, or too untrustworthy. They say things like, "My field is different. My people wouldn't understand this. My team needs strict control. You don't know the kind of people I deal with." But here's the truth. No team is naturally untrustworthy. People adapt to the environment they are placed in. If a workplace has fear, people become defensive. If a workplace has control, people become passive. If a workplace has punishment, people hide mistakes. If a workplace has silence, people shut down. And if a workplace has trust, people rise. Even the quiet ones. Even the inexperienced ones. Even the ones who doubted themselves. To break this barrier, a leader must take responsibility for the environment they create. Start small. Model the behavior you want to see. Offer trust in one small area. Give someone a chance. Let them try. Then guide them, not judge them. Culture changes when the leader changes first. If I trust people, I'll lose control. This fear is widespread, especially among managers, parents, and team leads. It comes from the belief that control equals safety. But in today's world, control equals burnout. Here's why. When a leader tries to control everything, they become the bottleneck. Every decision flows through them. Every mistake circles back to them. Every task relies on them. Every improvement waits for their approval. This is not control. This is exhaustion. And worse, the team becomes dependent, passive, and fearful. Control creates pressure for the leader. Control creates paralysis for the team. Trust, on the other hand, distributes responsibility. It unlocks creativity. It builds initiative. It strengthens confidence. It frees the leader to focus on bigger things. Trust doesn't eliminate accountability, it strengthens it. A leader may say, "What if they make a mistake?" But mistakes under trust are easier to fix than damage caused by chronic fear. What if it doesn't work? This fear is the fear of risk. When a leader is used to structure, switching to trust feels uncertain. But no great team, no great company, no great movement has ever been built by avoiding risk. Innovation requires risk. Growth requires risk. Empowerment requires risk. And leadership, more than anything, requires risk. The smartest leaders test trust in small areas first. Try it with low-risk tasks. Try it with short timelines. Try it with clear support. Try it with a watchful but non-controlling eye. These small trust experiments build confidence on both sides. I've been burned before. This barrier comes from pain, from betrayal, from disappointment, from trusting the wrong person, from giving someone responsibility and watching them fail. Leaders remember pain vividly, and fear builds habits. When someone breaks trust, leaders build walls. Walls feel safe, but they do not protect excellence. Walls block growth. Walls block opportunity. Walls block every new person who deserved a chance but never received it. The solution is not to stop trusting. The solution is to trust wisely. Trust based on character. Trust based on competence. Trust based on situation. Trust extended in steps, not all at once. A wise leader says, "I trust you in this area. Let's grow from here." Slow trust is still trust. And slow trust rebuilds leadership confidence without repeating old pain. If others succeed, I won't get credit. This barrier hides under pride. It happens when a leader believes that if someone else shines, their own value decreases. But this belief destroys teams. People feel the difference between a leader who wants them to grow and a leader who wants to stay above them. A leader who is threatened by others' success becomes controlling, dismissive, and competitive. A leader who celebrates others' success becomes admired, respected, and followed. When you lift others, your influence multiplies. When you limit others, your influence shrinks. The best leaders do not fear being overshadowed. They build others so bright that the whole team shines. Your greatness as a leader is measured not by what you achieve, but by what the people under you achieve because of you. I'm not as confident as people think I am. Many leaders wear armor, a tough voice, a formal posture, a commanding presence to hide insecurity. Inside, they fear being exposed or judged. They fear asking for help. They fear admitting mistakes. They fear not having all the answers. But the most powerful moment in leadership is when a leader says, "I'm learning too. I was wrong. I need help. I'm figuring it out. I don't know yet, but I'll find out." This honesty doesn't weaken a leader, it strengthens them. It creates trust. It builds safety. It encourages others to be honest too. Confidence doesn't come from knowing everything. Confidence comes from being unafraid of learning. I don't know how to let go. This is the barrier of habit. Leaders who have always taken responsibility struggle to share it. Letting go feels like losing identity. Letting go feels unfamiliar. Letting go feels irresponsible. Letting go feels risky. But letting go is the only way to grow. A leader cannot grow a team if they keep every decision in their hands. A parent cannot grow a confident child if they control every choice. A manager cannot grow leaders if they hold all authority. Letting go isn't about disappearing. It's about shifting from doing everything to enabling everything. Giving responsibility is not losing power. It's multiplying it. You can guide without gripping. You can support without suffocating. You can lead without limiting. The breakthrough happens when a leader finally says, "I trust you with this, and I'm here to help you succeed." From that moment on, a new kind of culture is born. I'm the smartest one in the room. This is one of the most damaging beliefs a leader can hold, even subconsciously. Because if a leader thinks they're the smartest, they stop listening. They stop learning. They stop asking questions. They shut down creative ideas. They dominate discussions. They dismiss concerns. They minimize contributions. And slowly, the team learns a dangerous behavior. Silence. People stop offering ideas because they know they won't be heard. People stop taking initiative because they know suggestions won't matter. People stop thinking deeply because the leader will override everything anyway. When a leader becomes the ceiling, the team never rises above it. True intelligence in leadership is not about having the most answers. It's about creating a space where answers come from everywhere. Modern leaders shift from "I know everything" to "I'm learning everything I can from everyone around me." Humility isn't weakness. Humility is the strength that lets others grow. This is just who I am. This might be the heaviest barrier of them all. Leaders say, "I've always been this way. I can't change. I'm direct, people need to accept it. I'm tough. That's my personality. That's my style." But leadership is not personality. Leadership is responsibility. And every leader, no matter their background, can grow. People evolve. Behaviors adapt. Skills develop. Mindsets shift. A person who clings to old habits will lead an old team in a new world. And nothing collapses faster than outdated leadership in a modern environment. So the real question becomes, are you willing to evolve? Because leadership is not about staying comfortable. It's about becoming capable. Once a leader begins breaking through these internal barriers, something extraordinary happens. A new kind of leader begins to emerge. A leader who models calmness under pressure. A leader who trusts early and wisely. A leader who inspires through connection and purpose. A leader who creates belonging and safety. A leader who lifts others, celebrates growth, and shares credit. A leader who listens before giving advice. A leader who communicates expectations clearly. A leader who practices accountability with dignity. A leader who is open enough to admit mistakes. A leader who is strong enough to stand by their values. A leader who transforms people not through authority, but through belief. This is what the modern world desperately needs. People don't want perfection. They want presence. They want humanity. They want authenticity. They want someone who cares enough to understand them and strong enough to guide them. And once a leader crosses this threshold, once they break through fear, ego, and habit, their influence becomes unstoppable. Teams change. Families heal. Classrooms transform. Small businesses grow. Workplaces become alive again. People stop quitting mentally. People stop hiding. People bring ideas they never shared before. Performance rises without pressure. Respect becomes mutual. Culture becomes self-sustaining. This is the shift from old leadership to new, from ruling to raising, from controlling to coaching, from managing to mentoring, from pressure to purpose, from fear to trust, from silence to belonging, from compliance to commitment, from demand to inspiration. This is the transformation that takes leadership from average to extraordinary. And at the core of this transformation is a simple truth. When leaders grow, everything grows. When leaders change, everything changes. When leaders trust, everyone rises. There comes a moment in every organization, every team, every classroom, every family, when people pause and ask themselves a question: what kind of leader do we deserve? Not the one who controls us. Not the one who frightens us. Not the one who corrects us more than they understand us. Not the one who manages tasks instead of building people. People want a leader who lifts them. A leader who listens. A leader who sees potential before results. A leader who invests before demanding. A leader who trusts before controlling. A leader who inspires before instructing. This is the essence of modern leadership, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. Because something powerful happens when a leader chooses this path, the entire environment begins to breathe differently. People who were once quiet begin speaking. People who were once fearful begin trying. People who were once exhausted begin caring again. People who were once overlooked begin growing. People who were once disengaged begin showing initiative. People who were once doubtful begin believing in themselves. A leader's energy reshapes the emotional climate. A leader's trust reshapes the behavior of the entire team. A leader's humility reshapes how others communicate. A leader's courage reshapes how others take risks. A leader's purpose reshapes the meaning behind the work. Leaders are not just individuals. They are thermostats. They set the temperature of the entire room. And when a leader chooses trust over fear, inspiration over control, connection over authority, clarity over confusion, and presence over pressure, the temperature rises to a place where people can grow
level of
rather than
leadership.
freeze.
The level where people follow you not because they have to, but because they want to. And when that happens, the entire environment transforms. Performance becomes natural, innovation becomes normal, harmony becomes common, accountability becomes shared, respect becomes mutual, growth becomes collective, purpose becomes alive, and inspiration becomes the culture. This is the leadership revolution Covey describes. A revolution not of systems, but of souls. A revolution not of control, but of character. A revolution not of authority, but of authenticity. The world will always need leaders, but today it needs a different kind. Leaders who build, not break. Leaders who trust, not tighten. Leaders who inspire, not intimidate. Leaders who see potential, not problems. Leaders who create safety, not fear. Leaders who foster belonging, not division. And the most powerful truth of all, leadership is not about you. Leadership is about who people become because of you. So the question is no longer, how do I lead? The question is, how do people grow in my presence? Because people rise when you trust them. People expand when you believe in them. People transform when you inspire them. People shine when you give them space. People follow when you show them the future. People commit when they feel seen. People thrive when they feel safe. And somewhere along this journey, something unexpected happens. You realize leadership was never about being in charge. Leadership was about taking care of the ones in your charge. When you lead with trust and inspiration, you don't just improve performance, you change lives, you change futures, you change families, you change communities, you change the culture around you, you change the world inside each person you touch. And eventually, people will look back and say, I became myself under this leader. I grew because of this leader. I changed because someone believed in me. I found my voice because someone heard me. I found my purpose because someone inspired me. I became stronger because someone trusted me. That is real leadership. That is legacy. That is greatness. And if this message reached you today, then you are not just a listener, you are a leader being called into something higher. Lead with trust. Lead with purpose. Lead with humanity. Lead with belief. Lead with courage. Lead with inspiration, because the world needs you, your people need you, your family needs you, your team needs you, your community needs you, and you were meant to rise. Thank you for listening. This is Rewired Reader.